The Zine Part 6. What we're going to do in this version is look at packaging, pre-flight, and saving and exporting our work. So first off, if we can go to Windows, Workspace, and make sure we're on Essentials and reset the Essentials, closing any windows that may pop up. Go to File, Open, and if you can open the Zine ACA 6 InDesign file. Now, before we begin, we're going to save our file. So normal work, we just do save as or save. In this case, we're doing save as, and I'm going to call it Zine ACA Final. And save. Then, if we want to publish this, the first thing we need to do is check our pre-flight. So the pre-flight runs all the time we're using the document. It comes up with any errors down here. If this is red, something's wrong, or perceivably something is wrong. So if we double click, the pre-flight window opens and we can have a look at what might be wrong. Here it's saying we got 3 text errors. So if we expand that, it's got 3 text errors that are overset text. We already know what these are. It says we got an overset text on page 8, for example. So I'm going to click on there. It's going to highlight the frame and show me where the overset text is. Overset text, remember, is extra text that cannot be displayed from that frame. So for example, if I click here, there's still some more text available. Let me just turn off preview. There we go. What it's saying is, you're not displaying all the text that is available. But we know today this is just a demonstration file. We're not really bothered about that. So this, for us today, is not an issue. But what I will do is generate an error on purpose now, so you can see what sort of issues could come up. So I'm going to go to the files where all the files we're using in this document are stored. I'm going to choose the Guy Martin one and just rename it. Now I'm going to rename it The Man and press enter. I go back to my document. You can see it's checking and it's come up now with another error. It said, hang on a minute, something else is wrong. So I'm going to open that up, and now it's got something saying links. What the heck's that? Missing link. Guy. So we click on the page number, and it's actually highlighting this image saying, hang on a minute, the link's missing. Now what does links mean? Remember when you place an image into InDesign, so I've opened my links panel, it does not place the image into InDesign. What it does is take a dirty, low-resolution copy and puts that in as a representation. As you're working on your document, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. If we were to put all the pictures in until it would get to a size that was unmanageable and the computer couldn't even use it, load it, or even display it correctly. So what it does is it uses a very, very low-resolution version for screen display purposes only. So if I zoom in, for example, you can see the quality is absolutely abysmal. Yes, we can go to View, Display Performance, High Quality, and that will make the quality look slightly better for screen display only. But it won't have changed this one because it still cannot see it. So the issue is, where is this image? We know where it is, we know it's here, and we know I renamed it something else. But the computer or InDesign cannot find it anymore. It's saying, where is it? Now this commonly happens when people place images into this file from their USB sticks, their cameras or whatever, without putting them all in a coherent place. So a good idea is always to copy all your files into one folder and use it from that folder. It saves a lot of heartache later on. But if this does happen, it's not the end of the world. All you do is select the missing link file here, click on this button which says relink. So we click on that and we tell it where the file is. We know it's this one, The Man. And we do open. And there we go. Much, much better. So always check your links, always check your errors on the pre-flight. If there is anything wrong, fix it before saving and finishing for the day. Now another way of collating all your data, so if you had all these images all in different places all over the place and you wanted to get them into one solid folder, including the InDesign folder, etc., what you can do is something called a package. Well, it will take all the images, all the data used, i.e. the fonts and everything, and create one folder and put them all into there with the InDesign file. This is called packaging, and it will also do a pre-flight at that stage, because a lot of the time when you make a package, it's going to tell you there's going to be errors with this, that or the other, even color profiling, because most of the times you're going to give the package to a printer who may open it and then just print it directly. So if we do File, Package, it's coming up here straight away with an error. It says links 14 images found and 14 use RGB color space. Now that's not a major issue. Used to be a major issue. This used to be really considerably bad to have RGB images in InDesign. InDesign, remember, uses CMYK to produce its printouts. Now you can convert on the fly from InDesign to CMYK. You do not have to import all your images in CMYK. Some people say it's still the golden rule, you must make all your images CMYK before bringing them into InDesign, but it's not strictly the case anymore. Some people are still very strict on that, and others are much more lax. So what we can do is actually ignore that, because we're just using this to make a package, not for printing. And then there's no more errors there, so it's not really an issue. So what I'm going to do is just simply click on package. The publication must be saved for, so yeah, we'll just save it. Right, an instruction will come up. Now this makes a little file inside the printing instructions, usually saying, you know, oh, here's all my details, etc. And then you might put some details in there and saying, you know, can I have 15 copies or 100 copies or 1,000 copies or whatever? Please call me for any problems, la la la. And a little text file with all this data would be in here for the commercial printer if you wanted to contact you. But we're going to ignore that, just do continue. Now, copy fonts, copy linked graphics, and update links in the package. The rest we usually leave off. And again, it's a good idea to keep this on. Include IDML, which we'll go on talk about in a moment, and PDFs, which we'll talk about in a moment. Then you select where you want to save or what's the name of the file. So I'm just going to call it Zine ACA Final, and I'm going to put it on the desktop of my computer, and I'm just going to package it. Again, it's going to come up with this warning, but it's basically telling you not to steal fonts at the end of the day. Then do OK. Again, the overset text is coming up, but we've already checked all that. We know it's OK, so we're going to do OK. Then it'll take a couple of minutes while it copies all the data into one coherent place for us. When that's done, I check my desktop. We have a folder, Zine ACA File. Within that folder, we have a PDF. We have the InDesign file. We have an IDML file. Again, I'll talk about that in a moment. We have that instructions text file we were talking about. But more importantly, we have a links folder with every single image that we used within the publication included. And any custom fonts we may have used have also been included. So a printer or someone else on a different machine could install the fonts, open the InDesign file or the IDML file, and it would look exactly the same on their machine. So this is one way of easily copying the data for someone else to continue working on, or just to make sure you've got everything in one space, all in the same folder. Now, we also talked about exporting or saving the work in other formats. So you can do File, Export, and then you've got various different formats. You have EPUB for ePublications, i.e. Flash, HTML, i.e. web design. You can even save the pages out as separate JPEGs, etc. But ones we really need to look at are PDF for print and PDF interactive. So what we're going to look at is PDF for print. So we select PDF for print, and I'm going to do save. We've already got one there, and yes, I'm going to replace it. Let's have a quick talk about what we can see. General is exactly what it sounds like. If you look through this, there's nothing really unusual here. But what we do want to have a quick look at is compression, where you can tell it to downsize or really reduce the file size by compressing the image quality. Usually you won't be changing it, you leave it as is. Compatibility you might change. It's always a good idea to have it a high version if you know people are going to have a higher version of Acrobat to load it into. And you can also set various presets up here. Marks and bleeds. Now these are the crop marks, the bleed marks, the registration marks, etc. Usually if you're taking this for final print, when it's got a bleed on your document, you would turn this on and you would use the document bleed. Include the slug area. Remember what you said, most of the time you do not include the slug area, and I'm not going to include the slug area on mine. Output, color conversion. Remember, this is what we were talking about, the RGB and CMYK. What you tend to do if you're going to print this on a CMYK printer is convert to destination and then select the work in CMYK. The document CMYK. That's how this is working at the moment. So most people would just select this, unless your printer tells you otherwise to select a different format, etc. Most people are going to select this for CMYK printing. The rest of the settings change as you wish, but then export. Remember the offset text problem, we know it's okay, so we're just doing okay. What it will then do is generate that PDF. You know it's generating the PDF by this simple animation that was going on up there. And let's just double check that folder on the desktop. And we have our PDF file. So you can see all the crop marks up here. So if I scroll down, there we go. This one's got the bleed area, so that's where it would cut across the top of the document. And the registration marks, etc., are for all the guillotine, spacing, and everything like that. And if we were happy with this, we would then send it off to the printer, and the printer then sort it out. Now there's also one other thing we should touch on, and that is something called pagination. A lot of printers nowadays are quite happy to receive files like this and they will paginate it for you. And pagination, it means with double-sided printing with a saddle stitch, i.e. a staple going through the middle, page 1 or the cover is printed on the first page, the rear of the cover is printed next to it. So it's obviously not printed in order. So you'd need to paginate it. And there are various ways of doing that. In this version of InDesign on the PC, it is very, very simple. As long as your total page numbers are divisible by 4. Remember, we don't have 9 total pages, we have 12 total pages because our page numbering starts from here again, remember. So it's divisible by 4. So what you can do is File, Print Booklet. Start with a preview. And it's going to show you what it looks like. What you want to do, the easiest way to check is to make sure your center spread is still your center spread as the last, and your front page will include your back graphic and your front graphic. What a lot of people would do Setup, go to their print settings and select the Adobe PDF printer or any sort of PDF output. Go to the setup and select a page size that is relevant. This one's A3, and then landscape. Do not scale it. If it does not fit on the page, you need to do this to a bigger page size. Marks and bleeds, if required, turn on. Output again, change to what you think you will need. And OK, check your preview again, make sure it's all correct, and print. But this time it's actually gonna make a PDF instead. So I'm going to save it again over the top of the one we've already done. This sometimes takes a few minutes to do because it has to juggle the pages around for us. And when that's done, we're going to get a document that looks like this. All ready for printing. And once it's printed, all you simply do, print it double-sided, fold it in half, put a staple right through the middle, and that's your magazine done. Of course, you do crop the edges off where the crop marks are. But it really is that simple. One final thing worth mentioning is export in again, or save as rather. You have IDML. Remember we talked about INDD and INDT already? You have something called IDML, InDesign markup language. If you save a document as an IDML file, it can be opened in earlier versions of InDesign. It will go back a good few versions, say CS4 basically. So even though this is a Creative Cloud version, if I save it as this, it will work in earlier versions of InDesign, but only as far back as CS4. It's not 100% guaranteed. There are a few times I've tried this and it has gone wrong, but otherwise it is very, very robust. So if you save it as IMDL for backward compatibility.